Welcome back to the Nevada Hoops Podcast. We're coming to you just moments after a Nevada Wolfpack victory over the Oklahoma State Cowboys 90-78 down at the Charleston Classic to finish in 5th place, which on the surface doesn't sound that great, but when you break down the 3 games that they played, it was a pretty solid showing, all things considered. So before we jump into the VCU and Oklahoma State games, just a couple words on the Vanderbilt game. We did the emergency podcast after that game, and you guys got to see the different side of your faithful host. And a couple things on that. So I kind of like to focus, like a lot of times I'll focus my negativity on us as opposed to the officials, but thinking after I did the pod, I was like, well, I tell you what, that was pretty frustrating, right? With how Vanderbilt was just getting into us. I don't think I've ever seen a team just like get into the player that's like accepting an entry pass down low, right? I mean, like they're like inside our jersey, like the whole game, and the refs just let them do it, and it was, it was pretty weird. I haven't seen many games officiated like that, that's about all I have to add on that. Maybe just a little bit on like how I analyze games. So like there are, I tend to have, I'll have like more like a focus on like individuals and like what an individual is doing offensively or defensively, because I guess that's kind of where I think my strong suit is just, is focusing on those matchups. And I realize that there are things from a team concept in basketball that I do not have a great understanding of like exactly what type of a defense we're running, what we're trying to do, or then on the flip side, offensively, there's probably some things that I miss on like what we are trying to do from a team concept. So those are my shortcomings. I'm trying to learn those finer points of the game. So just giving you guys a little bit of background there on why I say things. I really, I'm going to make mistakes on my analysis. Like I say, I'm still trying to pick some of these finer points up. So just because I say something that you might disagree with, it'd be nice if you didn't just quit listening to the podcast. Just bear with me. I'm not perfect, but I'm giving you what I see. I'm just giving you the raw analysis, right? And I think there are some nuggets in there, even if you don't agree with it all. I think you can find some some good pieces of information going forward. But so let's move into the VCU game, a 64-61 victory for the Pack. What a ball game, right? We're down 11 at half. We're down, I think, 15 early second half. And you're like, it was looking pretty dire there for a bit. And the Pack battle back, go up 5 in the last few minutes of the game. And then I think Kobe had a turnover. And then Dussel missed a short shot that I'm sure he was hoping he could have made. And VCU gets 5 points off those two possessions, and we're down 3, I think it was, right? And then Trey Coleman hits a huge 3. What a great shot that was. And then so then I think it ends up tied, right? And then we go down, I think we get a stop, and then Kobe Sanders just said, "Hey, host of the Nevada Hoops podcast, here's a big old bag of you-know-what to eat as I drain this corner 3 for the victory." Holy cow, that was just amazing. And, yeah, Kobe, he tell you what, he carried it into this last game, which we'll be getting to here shortly. But so a few more things on that VCU victory. Nick, I bagged on him pretty hard there in that first game against Vandy. I'm sure some of you didn't like that, and he was pretty. I tell you what, he was hard to find in the first half of the VCU game, and then I don't know what happened, but whether it was just, well, I think part of it was an emphasis from the coaching staff was just like, we are going to Nick and we are going to get him going here. And boy did he, right? I mean, I think he only had 4 points in the first half, and then he just literally dominated the second half of that game, getting himself to 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Nick just did, another thing I was pretty critical was on the passing out of those double teams, right, in the Vandy game. And, well, he just did a masterful job, and with the game-winning assist there to throw to Kobe in the corner. But, I mean, he just did it all game. It was really nice to see. Trey Coleman with 9 of 5, 2 steals. Brandon Love 9 of 4, 2 steals. Ducell 20 minutes, 6 and 3. KJ with just 11 minutes, 6 and 1. Those were good productive 11 minutes. McBride with in 11 minutes had 5 and 2. Resiliency by the team. That was pretty amazing when you consider how that first game went. Losing that tight one to Vandy and then trailing by so much to just be able to dig deep. I think you really seen the composure and just the overall level of experience on the team, right? That was one thing that was pretty cool. They threw up this stat on the experience level of Oklahoma State and Nevada here in this last game, and I didn't write it down, but like we were both top 10. I want to say Okie State was like 5 and Nevada was like 3. Like 3. You're talking 364 Division I teams, right? And Nevada's in the top 5 of experience amongst its players of all those teams, right? And I think you just really seen that with just how the team didn't get rattled and just continued to execute the game plan. And just a really great game. I think that was about all we'll touch on the VCU game. We'll jump to Okie State here, and then maybe we'll give some general observations of the whole tournament. Okie State, as we said, just finished up with, we've got a 90 to 78 victory there. Kobe Sanders was just masterful offensively with 27 points, 4 boards, 3 assists. Just obviously 27 points, just a great job of scoring the basketball. Been a little bit critical of Kobe's maybe I don't know, he's not really a pure passer that maybe some people would like from their point guard. But I tell you what, the dude can handle for 6'9", and with all the pressure that he received from these teams, I mean, they're like picking him up 90 feet like almost every damn game. And was just super impressed with how he was able to handle that stuff. And yeah, very, very few turnovers off that. So just a great game from Kobe Sanders. Nick with 23, 4, and 2. Good game. Kind of seemed to kind of lose his outside shot there in that second half, but I mean, can't complain with putting up 23 points. Ducell, $18, 8 points, kind of got himself in foul trouble, which we had a lot of guys in foul trouble, and I'm definitely going to have something to say about that here in a little bit. Trust me. It was ridiculous. Trey Coleman only had 6 points, but 6 rebounds, 8 assists. Like, it's crazy. I mean, I guess we'll just dive into it right now on the so Trey, I don't think anyone really looked, coming into this season really looked at him as like a playmaker or anything like that. But he's really kind of stepping up and filling a role out of necessity, as we don't, kind of. I mean, it is, at this point, it is what it is, right? With, this is what you have as a team, and you're just gonna have to make do. And we don't really have a pure passer on the roster, and so Trey's, I mean, give him credit, he's stepping in and he's filling some of that. Personally, it's a little scary for me when I see him initiating the offense when that game got tight down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, he's stepping outside of his comfort area and giving the team something they need in an area that they're lacking. Brandon Love only played 17 minutes because he was also in foul trouble. Imagine that. But such an impactful player for how much he was out there, man. 17 minutes, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Seems like he has 2 steals like every single game, right? Yeah. As far as the fouls, I don't know, I mean, a couple of them are like, what are you doing, Brandon? And then a couple, there was a couple where you're like, give me a break. So I don't know, hopefully he can get a little bit better on avoiding some of those. But I mean, he's so active with, I mean, that's how, kind of how he gets those steals, is he pops that ball out of there. And so then when he doesn't hit the strike zone on that and it goes off somebody's arm or hand, then it doesn't look as good. But I mean, heck of a game. KJ put in 20 minutes. Wasn't super impactful on the statistics with 4 points, 4 rebounds, but I mean, he played real solid game out there. Yeah. Real solid. McBride, so 4.6 rebounds. So let's talk about Justin McBride a little bit. So I think the thing that we need to remember, again, besides this, I mean, he's, some might be, he's a sophomore, but so, I mean, didn't redshirt last year at Okie State, which is kind of funny, right? That's what they just played. So he played as a true freshman last year, and like he started out the season in the rotation, and then kind of fell out of the rotation. We talked about this before because the coach was on the hot seat, and to me, it seemed like he was like, I got to go with my vets, try to keep my job here. I can't risk playing young guys, and so he kind of fell out of the rotation, right? And hardly played last year, but he was like one of the youngest kids in Division I basketball last year, right? So now we've got him out there as a true sophomore, and probably the best pure rebounder on our team, if you ask me, just from what I see with the eye test. Just like as far as just like some people just have that natural rebounding ability, right? And I'd say he might be the one with the most rebounding talent. Brings a lot of energy whenever he comes in, right? But you're seeing that, he makes some mistakes out there, right, with some goofy fouls or gets out of position or whatever. So it's just one of those things. I think we try to be patient with it, and I think he's probably going to come along. Hopefully irons out a little bit on the shot making, irons out some of that a little bit. But there's a lot to really like about his game. Came in and gave some nice minutes there when Nick got in foul trouble. Anyone notice on the theme with me saying like this guy was in foul trouble, this guy was in foul trouble? Yeah, like I said, we'll get to that. Rollison, he played solid 23 minutes, didn't put up much for stats, but I think he actually ended up fouling out at the end of the game. How funny is that? And then Chuck Bailey III. I just love that name. 11 minutes, 4 points, 1 board. So one thing with Chuck, and he didn't play poorly by any means, but one thing I've talked before about how it kind of drives me nuts when we kick to an open 3-point shooter and they drive. So unless Chuck Bailey can shoot threes, at least statistically, he was just off the top of my head, I think it was 34% last year. He hasn't shot very many this year, so I don't even know, who cares what this percentage is because he hasn't shot hardly any. But with Daniel Foster coming back here next week, which we'll be talking about more in a second, with how we're running the offense, if we've got Chuck Bailey in the corner and we throw it to him and he's wide open, I'm pretty sure that we want him to shoot the three. We don't want him to drive into congestion. That is not what we're looking for. And if he wants to keep these minutes, he's gonna have to shoot that shot. For how we're using him in the offense, I realize it might not really be his game. I realize he does like to drive, and he had a super nice little kind of fadeaway floater there in this game. But with how we're using him in the offense, he's got to at least attempt to knock down that open three, right? In my opinion, but dude's bringing it on defense. Seems like he's maybe like a touch slow off that first step that I think he could get a little bit better on, but then dude makes up ground like nobody else on the team, right? I mean, just super quick, just really can make up that ground when a guy's got a step on him. It's really impressive, actually. So what else on this Okie State game? So we shot 59 for the game, 39 from 3, 68 from free throws from the stripe. Obviously, we need to get that up a little bit. God, gets kind of frustrating there. But yeah, so we got to get that up a little bit. Just like overall, so crazy how like Oklahoma State just like put so much pressure on us. I don't think, looking at all three, I guess we'll just kind of transition to just big picture tournament stuff, and maybe some more stuff on the Okie State game. But crazy how like these three teams we faced just got after us. I don't remember at least any Mountain West teams that we played last year getting after us on the defensive end like these three teams did. It was just crazy. I mean, when you think about it, we did a pretty dang good job of handling it, man. I guess with that pressure, let's kind of talk about the fouls in this Oklahoma State game. It was ridiculous. Okay. I've said it before. Our players, minus our centers, do not foul at a high rate. It's just a fact. Okay. And so you have the opposition, which is being 3 times as more physical as you are, but yet you are called for 3 times as many fouls. And so, yeah, so I exaggerate from time to time. I tried looking it up. I didn't see the exact number of fouls, but it was probably half. But still, that was ridiculous. I mean, it just felt like they were just trying to keep Oklahoma State in the game. There was some fouls that they got called for there at the end of the game. That was actually rape in 38 states. I mean, God gracious, I was about to lose my mind. We had the whole stinking team in foul trouble right there. We got, lucky in that aspect that Alford was able to navigate that like he did. Just, that was just bogus. So, yeah, what else do we got? Kind of big picture stuff. Okay, yeah. This is, so one thing that I think that we really need to work on offensively that can help us, with us, especially with us not really having the pure passers that I suppose you would like if you're just could have all your wishes granted. I feel like we do a poor, and I don't know the terminology for this, so you're just gonna have to kind of get inside my mind here a little bit, right? I feel like we don't do a good job of like filling that open area when we've got a ball handler that might like drive a little bit like into the lane, right? And it gets kind of collapsed on, and maybe he's pulled his dribble or maybe he hasn't. But I feel like we don't do a good job of like kind of swinging, like our guys are on the perimeter to like swinging into that open area where that ball handler can see you and has a good vision of you and he can kick the ball to you. I really feel like that's something that we can it's like a huge hole that we can. It seems like it'd be an easy fix, right? So that I think is something that could really help us down the line. Hopefully that's something that we can work on. Cover that. Well, yeah, so I think we touched on most of those points there. Okay, let's talk about, so we do not have a game all next week. We are off until December 2nd, Monday, December 2nd against Washington State, and got them coming into Lawler. I'll be attending that game. Okay, so one other thing on us. So Daniel Foster basically has not played this year, right? I think most people are like forgetting him. Dude was our sixth man last year. How nice would he have been with the pressure that we just faced, right? Giving us an additional ball handler. And I just really think he would have been a really nice player with these type of teams that we just faced. And then with, he's so solid on defense. He would have really been nice. So it sounds like he's back. He's coming back for Washington State. Let's hope he's super healthy and can just hit the ground running, and it is gonna be fun. That reminded me though on one thing. One more negative before we move on, right? I gotta rip the team one more time. I felt like, and I realized Oklahoma State's one of the fastest teams in the country, right? They get that ball and they are going. I felt like we could have done a little bit better job of getting back on D. It burned us a few times there, and I get it. I'm sure it's hard to keep that pace up, but I think we could have done a little bit better job on it. So that's something I would like to see them maybe trying to rectify going forward. But that's about all we got on the pack. Let's move into a quick analysis of what the other Mountain West teams did this week, and then we're going to wrap this puppy up. Fresno, we always start off the Mountain West analysis with the Fresno State Bulldogs. I was like this close to opening up another can on Fresno State and their coaching hire when they were on the ropes at Long Beach State. And because I was like, it's totally similar situation, right? You got a first-year coach at Long Beach, first-year coach at Fresno, and you're going to get beat by a Big West team. But hey, Bulldogs answered the bell and came back and got the W. So Bulldogs get 2 victories over Prairie View A&M and Long Beach State. Holy cow. And then, so they coming up, they got Washington State, I believe. Yeah. So that probably ain't going to go very good. But so moving on to Wyoming, I get a couple W's. Utah Tech and Southeast Louisiana. Pokes taking care of business. They got one game this upcoming week against Tulane. Air Force, I don't know what to think about Air Force, right? Like I'd like pretty much written them off. Becker still hasn't come back. They are competitive against Cal, at Cal, lose by 9, and then they just blew out Mercyhurst. Remember we talked about that last week. So actually not a too bad of a weekend for Air Force. They got Sac State and Wright State coming up, so who knows? Maybe getting a little winning streak for the Falcons. San Jose State, they dropped their lone matchup to USC. I mean, they didn't play terrible, but I don't know. We'll just hold out the analysis on them. They got 3 big games coming up: UTEP, NC Greensboro, and Long Beach. So we'll see if they can get something going there. Colorado State, UC Riverside hits a Lucas 3 from beyond half court to send it into overtime and Colorado State drops it in overtime to UC Riverside. Holy moly. That'll be it's like we got to have like one game every week that just torpedoes the conference. And thanks, Rams. So they've got the Washington Huskies coming up. Who knows? We'll see how that one goes. San Diego State, I don't think they had a game this week. And then they're at Creighton and versus Oregon. So a couple big matchups there. Creighton just got knocked out by Nebraska yesterday. So who knows? We'll see what San Diego State can do. UNLV, they get a couple wins over Pepperdine and New Mexico State. Watched a lot of that New Mexico State game. They're just not looking that good. I'm kind of giving them a pass because Whaley is out. I don't know exactly what's going on there. He played like a little bit in that. He didn't start. Played a little some in that first game, and I don't know. He hasn't played like the last few games, so I really think he's a big part of that team. So I'm kind of giving them a little bit of a pass there. They got a game against Mississippi State coming up this week, so that'll be a nice one. Utah State get a great win over the Iowa Hawkeyes, 77-69. That's a really nice win for the conference by the Aggies there. They've got one game coming up against St. Bonaventure this week. Boise State Broncos, they only had one this week. They just played Hampton. Does anyone know what Hampton's mascot is? I'm not even going to bother to look it up because you didn't even know there was a college that had a basketball team named Hampton. And Boise State won by 14, which would not be the greatest showing. But hey, we'll see. It's at an MTE event somewhere. And then they are looking at, they got South Dakota State tomorrow. If they can get by that, then they're looking at maybe a championship game against High Point. I think High Point's playing right now, but they're actually a really nice mid-major. A lot of people don't know much about, but they got a really solid team this year. So, yeah. Also, like, how big of a downer is that for Boise? Like, you go to like a MTE. Why is it so hard for me to say that? And you play Hampton? Holy cow. I mean, like, we played Okie State, VCU, and Vanderbilt, right? And they're playing Hampton. And, yeah, so I don't know, whatever, I guess. I guess there was some teams that pulled out or something, so maybe it's not all their fault, but okay, whatever. But they bragged all last year about, we got the hardest non-conference schedule. And whatever, Boise. Okay, New Mexico, they got a win over Grambling. They're playing Texas Southern tonight. So I should, who will be playing here coming up in December. And then they got ASU scheduled on the slate, I believe in a neutral, or maybe it's one of the tournaments. I don't know, but they got them coming up later in the week, so that'll be a big one. And then obviously for us, we said we're off till December 2nd against Wazoo, and we'll be back. We'll do another podcast next Sunday, preview that matchup and whatever else. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode, and we will catch you next week.